Hello and welcome to the Real-Esteem podcast. Today is June the 18th, 2018. I'm your host, Patrick Tabor, and today on the Identity Edition, we're going to learn how to keep your identity. If you'd like to hear any of our previous podcasts or get a copy of our book, Real-Esteem, Finding Your True Identity in Christ, please visit us at enith.com, www.enyniith.com. Think back to when you were learning how to ride a bike. It's kind of a scary time, right? Things were kind of strange. You didn't know if you were going to fall. It was a little scary. But once you did it, once you realized that you could do it, once you were able to balance and ride the bike in a straight line or be able to make nice circles and turns and, even to the point where you were able to do a few tricks on your bike, you developed a confidence in what you've learned, and you did not want to go backwards. You actually have learned something, so now it becomes kind of second nature to you. Same thing applies with your identity. Once you find out who you really are, it's hard to lose that. I mean, can you imagine forgetting how to ride a bike? I mean, literally, it comes right back to you once you sit on the bike. It becomes second nature. Or for those of you who have your driver's license and you've been driving a good while, and when I say a good while, you've been driving over 20 years, in your mind, you have a subconscious that actually helps you drive. I mean, there's things that you're thinking about and focused on while you're driving, but you're still driving, and you may be driving well. How does that happen? Because you've learned how to drive and do these other things. I'm not talking about utilizing your phone or distracting things like eating while you're driving. I'm talking about just having thoughts and thinking about certain things, planning your day, talking, singing, and doing all these things in the car while you're actually driving. You have that ability. You've learned those skills. Same applies in real life when you're trying to maintain something that you've gained, which is your identity. Proverbs 9:9 says, "Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning." Philippians 4:9 says, "What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you." James 1:5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him." These three scriptures alone tell you that learning is important. And once you learn something, actually learn something, I'm not talking about memorizing or gaining a piece of knowledge so that you can impress someone. I'm talking about you've actually learned something of value to you. Well, when you learn what your identity is, you have learned a great value. You've learned something that is going to determine the direction of your future. It really has the power to control your destiny and direct you in the right way, because once you know who you are and what you really like and what you are working towards and what your purpose is, how all of that meshes together, then when distractions come, when things come that really don't line up with those things, you are better able to ignore them. And I think most people don't know how to ignore or push past something that when they don't understand what their identity is, they're having a hard time pushing past the different distractions that are placed in front of them, because they don't know if that thing is going to benefit them, if that's going to help. It's kind of like grasping at straws or just casting bread and hoping something's going to return back to them. Hope is a great thing, but hope has to be attached with faith, love, and belief. You just have to have all the necessary components. You can't just have one and expect it to work out. You can't make a cake with flour and baking soda alone. You have to have milk and eggs and sugar, other ingredients, and butter or margarine. There's other things that are necessary to make that happen. And that's what your identity is for you. It's all the pieces that are a part of you that help you realize what's good for you, what's bad for you, what you can accept, what you can't accept. the things that you need and the things that you don't need. And you're able to say yes to the things that are important and valuable that are going to benefit you moving towards your destiny or your purpose or your goals. And you're able to say no to all the things that detract or distract what you're trying to actually accomplish. You do not want to spend your life spinning your wheels over things that are unnecessary, unimportant, and a waste of time. You always want to put value on the things that are going to get you further in life and is going to help you grow to what you need, to the place you need to be in your life so that you can accomplish everything that God's called you to do. Before you die, your main goal is to accomplish what God has told you to accomplish. And as an individual, you have to find out what that is. That's your job. That's your work. You have to find out. Your identity helps you know that. If you're not a loud, boisterous, outgoing, or extroverted type individual, well, if you're not that, why try to imitate that? It's so outside of your character that, some people feel like that is better than being a quiet person. But a quiet person can also have can be in tune with what's actually going on because they have more time to really pay attention to what's happening as opposed to feeling like they have to fit in or stand out or be noticed or seen. Most quiet people don't necessarily feel that they need a lot of attention. They're okay being by themselves. And I'm not saying that a quiet person is better than an outgoing person. What I am saying is whatever you are, value that and find out how that works in your identity and with your destiny and purpose. There's great things that people who don't like to be in the public eye have done, and people may not give them credit, but they do great works. There's many artists have sung these great songs that were written by people you may have never heard of, but someone captured in their mind and was gifted enough to choreograph and put together a song and write a song and lyrics and notes that all fit together that create this great song that a great singer sung. But who was the writer? Who was the developer? You may never see that person, but that person was creative enough to create that. So don't devalue what you have. Remember, always learn. Value what God's given you and how he's made you. There is something in that applies to your destiny that's going to create what God needs to be created in your life. Your life is a light, and you have to let it shine in the way God would have you to, not the way people may want you to. You can be distracted by following the societal way of doing things as opposed to the way God is requesting that you do things. There's a blessing on the other side of the door of obedience, but you have to grab the doorknob and walk through it. If you don't, you might not see that blessing. I'll leave you with this. Colossians 3:16 says, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God." Moving forward into what you would have or what God would have you to do, it's going to require that you learn how you should do it, not learn only how others have done it. Your way and their way, it may not be the same. You have to find out from God what that is. Knowing your identity will help that, and knowing your purpose will help that also. I hope you got something out of this today. Be blessed. Grace and peace.